There is nothing here you cannot meet. How one writing prompt helped my students and me remember our strength. In our world right now, there are so many things to be afraid of, so many forces beyond our control or ability to influence. I know I feel it. So when I sat down to plan my Wednesday writing class this week, I knew I wanted to start with a prompt that would help us all remember our own strength so we could harness it when needed. I often read poems to my students or excerpts from writing, my own or someone else's, as the inspiration for their writing prompt. A few days ago, this poem by Rosemerry Wahtola Trommer flew into my inbox. It was about worry, something I am, unfortunately, very familiar with. So I gravitated to this poem right away. I knew right away it would be a great jumping-off place for my students. Sitting in a quiet room, with thanks to Carly Pittman. There is this stark moment when I see I am not my worry, when I do not chastise myself for worrying, nor do I demonize the worry. I do not imagine the worry as a snake or a tick or a nail. I welcome it into my lap, uncomfortable teacher, and pause here on the hard chair of curiosity. Softness arrives with conscious breath. In and around me blooms spaciousness. Silence is the tenderest lullaby. It holds both the worry and me. It has no tongue, yet the lyric is clear. There is nothing here you cannot meet. That's by Rosemerry Wahtola Trommer. What struck me the most about the poem was the last line, "There is nothing here you cannot meet." Was that really true? Is there really nothing in my life that I cannot meet? From that question, I created a prompt for my students. Tell me about something you were afraid of that you were able to deal with in the end. Tell me about something you were afraid of that you were able to deal with in the end. Once I welcomed everyone into class, I read Rosemary's poem out loud, gave the prompt, and had my students write for 30 minutes. Then we read out loud. The results were powerful, each story moving and deeply inspiring. Writing to this prompt reminded all of us of the strength and resilience we demonstrated at a crucial moment in our past, qualities we could draw on now to meet today's challenges, both personal and collective. This was my response to the prompt. There was no way I could tell her, no way I could let her know, but I had to. She'd been calling me for several weeks now, her tone more frantic with each call. "Lori, you have to call me back. Lori, what's going on? Lori, if you don't call me, I'm going to get on a plane and fly out to California." I'd been withdrawing from her for a while, silent for a long time. I had never not responded to my mother before. She was the sun around which I orbited, the bright light in the sky, the glowing, gleaming, vibrant star. I was just a lowly planet in an erratic orbit around her pulsing center. At 21, I'd moved 3,000 miles away from her on purpose. It was as far as I could get from New Jersey without crossing an ocean. But no matter where I went, she never stopped being the sun in my universe. I could never get away from her. Her beams reached into my most vulnerable, tender places. lighting up all that was inside me, demanding allegiance. And now there was something about my life she didn't know. She couldn't stand it. She wanted to. No, she needed to be in my head. She had rummage rights, after all, didn't she? She was my mother, and she knew, sensed, felt in that spidey sense of hers that something was wrong. And yes, something was terribly wrong. It had started in bed with my lover, Gwen, the one I was sure was going to be my partner for life. I was 28 years old, the age my youngest daughter is today, and Gwen and I had been in bed, failing to make love again. As we'd grown closer and had started planning for our long, wonderful future together, the kids we'd have someday, the home we'd create, the family we'd have, my body had started to shut down. When Gwen touched me, I went away. I didn't yet know the word dissociation, but that's what I did. I disappeared. My body went through the motions, but I wasn't there. It happened time after time until finally one day, Gwen exploded and yelled at me. "Where do you go? What's wrong with you?" And a tiny little voice rose up from my core and made its way into the sunny morning air. As the words escaped my lips, I knew they were true. I was molested. That had just been a couple of months ago. I'd gotten myself into therapy immediately. At the time, all I kept thinking was, "Don't let it be Dad. Please, don't let it be Dad." And as my memories started to return, it ends up it wasn't my father. It wasn't Dad at all. It was my grandfather, Papa, Mom's father. Little images started breaking through. Papa unbuckling his belt, the light on the wall that had to stay on because it was Shabbos, a holy time, the taste of the lifesaver he put on my tongue when he was done. Little flashes of truth, little flashes I didn't want to believe, but had to. My body was remembering. And now I had this secret from Mom. I couldn't tell her. This was about her father. But I had to tell her. My whole world was collapsing, and when I told her, the world I knew would explode completely. But now she was threatening to come to California. I imagined her walking up Haight Street and turning right onto Masonic, walking up the steps of the long railroad flat I shared with 3 roommates, barging into my room and sucking up all the oxygen, confronting me. I imagined cowering on the bed, trying to hide from her, but she would find me. She always found me. She always knew how to crawl inside my head. "I know you better than you know yourself," she always used to say. So one way or another, she was going to find out. There was no doubt about it. She was going to know. I couldn't bear the idea of her pounding on my door, barging into my room, her stocky body in the room, eyes wild, piercing through my flimsy protection. I couldn't keep her out. I'd never been able to keep her out before. 3,000 miles hadn't done it. Clamming up hadn't done it. Shrugging my shoulders hadn't done it. She always knew how to get inside me. And so I had to tell her. I had to. She needed to know. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad. Maybe she would sympathize. Maybe she would tell me it happened to her too. I knew the statistics. This ran in families. This was her father we were talking about. Papa didn't just start abusing children when he was 70 and I was 3. It had to have happened to her too. It probably happened to all her sisters and all my cousins too. Maybe this would be the thing that would finally bring us together. Finally bring us the kind of mother-daughter relationship we'd both always wanted. But what if she didn't believe me? What if she cut me off? What if I lost her forever? I'd be a little star rocketing through space, disconnected to everyone and everything. Then I would die. My mother, I loved her. I hated her. But most of all, I needed her. I picked up the phone. Well, it's intense just for me to read that. It happened so long ago, more than 40 years ago. Now, this is a scene I have written many times before. In fact, a much longer, more nuanced version of it, including the phone call that followed, is a critical scene in my award-winning mother-daughter memoir, The Burning Light of Two Stars. Even though I've written about this pivotal moment before, in class the other day, the story came out differently. Being able to revisit myself as a 28-year-old put me back in touch with both my vulnerability and my strength, and I was able to measure the incredible growth and healing I've accomplished in my adult life. These are the kind of moments that turn our life in one direction or another. That phone call with my mother changed the trajectory of my life. These turning point moments create the backbone of our memoirs, the backbone of our lives. They're the most important scenes we can write. And in this instance, with this particular framing and this particular prompt, telling the story this time reminded me of the strength I have inside, the strength I need to face my life and the world right now. Why don't you give it a try? Again, here's the prompt. Tell me about something you were afraid of that you were able to deal with in the end. If you'd like to read the rest of this scene and the rest of this powerful mother-daughter story, I have the link to The Burning Light of Two Stars in the show notes. And if you'd like to study with me, I have a 5-day memoir retreat coming up, The Art of Memoir, Crafting Compelling, Vivid, True Life Stories. It's at the Villa Maria del Mar in Santa Cruz, California. If you would like to experience 5 unforgettable days studying memoir under the guidance of a master teacher, join me in Santa Cruz the first week in November for an intimate, unforgettable retreat at a gorgeous retreat center perched right on the Pacific Ocean. The art of memoir will lead you deep into your story and the craft of memoir. And there's a link to find out more in the show notes. And if you would like to be part of the Wednesday class I wrote about in this post, there is an opening in that class. It is online, so you could attend from anywhere. So if you'd like to write to powerful prompts like this one in a supportive weekly writing community with me, there are openings now in my Wednesday writing class, and there's a special offer available now for newcomers. Check it out and join us. The link will be in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back again next week with another post.